What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Do You Want More, a UFC stat show here on the Monk Maddox channel. I am your host, Monk, aka Monk Masterflex, aka the Monkmatician, and I am here to bring you and break down all the fights and all of the stats from UFC Vegas 34, Cannonier versus Gastelum. So that said, let's get right into it. And let me just quick look, make sure we're recording audio and all that. All right, guys. This is going to be the breakdown for the prelims. There's only, I think we're down to 11 fights now, so it's only broken down. I'm only breaking this down into 6 and then 5 for the main card. So we will get started. Quick breakdown on what we are looking at over here. It's just a split screen. Sasha, fighter 1 stats on the left, fighter 2's stats on the right. Right here in the middle at the top is what weight class the fight is taking place at, and then how many fighters are in that division in my database that I'm tracking. So that'll come in handy for when we look at all of the ranks and whatnot, kind of give you an idea of where these guys sit in the division. So that said, let's get started. First fight of the night, Sasha Palatnikov against Ramiz Brahimaj, I might just call him. Let's see, welterweight fight. Sasha's 6'1", 72-inch reach. Ramiz 5'10", 72-inch reach as well. Brahimaj is, let's see here, almost 4 years younger than Sasha Palatnikov. About 3.5 years younger. Let's see. Professionally, Sasha is 6-3, 1-1 in the UFC. Ramiz is 8-3 professionally and 0-1 in his only fight in the UFC. 18% of his fights go the distance. So the other 81% of his fights do finish early. Let's see here. Most of the time by submission. 8 wins by submission in his pro career. On the other hand, Sasha Palatnikov, 33% of his fights do go the distance. He has 3 wins by knockout. He's been knocked out twice. No wins by sub, and he has been subbed 1 time. Let's see here. Total fight time, just over 18 minutes for Sasha, just over 12 for Ramiz. Negative 1.11 AWI, that's ass whoop index. That's a stat that I did create. Just tells you, basically, did you whoop ass in your fight, or did you get your ass whooped in your fight? If you take round by round judging out of it, you can kind of use that as a metric to see, if the fight was close or not. Or like I said, if someone got their ass whooped. 0 is a dead even fight, theoretically. And then negative, you got your ass whooped. Positive, you whooped some ass. So he is negative here, Sasha. Ramiz, in his 1 fight, he did get his ass whooped pretty good, negative 14. No power index for either one of them. They've never knocked anyone down. Chindex for Sasha, 0.89. That is not a great number. 53rd out of 67 fighters in the welterweight division. Ramiz, perfect, never been or has not been knocked down in his UFC career. Let's take a look at some odds here. Sasha is pretty much an even bet. He opened at -110, so the line is pretty close there. Ramiz just moved a little bit from -110 to -130. -155 fight doesn't go to decision. +125 does go. So just a couple of odds there. I'm capping this fight 72% for Sasha, -260. So if you're looking at Sasha, you're getting some pretty good money there. Pretty good value, I should say. And then 27% for Ramiz. That said, I'm not making picks in this show, but I am probably not betting this fight. Even with those numbers, I mean, that's kind of stats based and a lack thereof for Ramiz. So that's not exactly 100% what I think, but it's pretty close. That said, like I said, I'm not going to be betting it. A couple of notable performances and notable performances. Sasha did TKO Luis Koske 3rd round, and he got subbed by Impa Kasanganay. Ramiz lost to Max Griffin, round 3 TKO loss in his 1 and only fight. Sasha, 100% finish win percentage, one of his wins in the UFC. He did finish, and then he did get finished in his loss, and 100% finish loss rate as well on the other side. Pretty simple graph summation there of what we just talked about, how the fights finish. Whenever you see a clusterfuck of digits and letters up here, that just means they're all 0, so just ignore it. He just has the one TKO loss, as is stated down here. And same thing with all this clusterfuck of numbers over here. Excuse me. Round finishing data, I did just add this. How many fights did you finish and in what round? Sasha does have a round 3 finish win, and his finish loss did come in round 2, while Ramiz did get finished, like we said, in round 3. Ass whooping index data, just what it says here. What's your ass whoop index average when you finish for a win? 11.15, pretty low actually, as far as finish wins go. Finish losses, and then decision or not. He's never had a decision. So on the other side, Ramiz minus 13.93, same number from above because he's only had the one fight. Let's get into some real numbers. The first fight always takes a while. Sorry guys, I kind of explained things a little bit. Hopefully we will get moving as the fights go on. That's a great sound to have pop up right now. All right, basic striking data. Left 2 columns I kind of ignore for the purpose of this video. It's just volume, career volume numbers. Middle columns, accuracy and defense. We do pay attention to that heavily. And then this next column, volume landed per minute. And the third column, and last column I should say, volume thrown per minute. So those are the 3 columns we mostly pay attention on in this category. Sasha, let's see, 52.87% accurate, 10th in the division. 7.58 significant strikes landed per minute. That's good for 3rd in the division, and 3rd as far as volume thrown per minute at 14.33 significant strikes. He throws 17.5 total strikes per minute in his 2 fights. That is crazy. Lands 10.5 total strikes a minute. Number 2 in the division at 60%. So Sasha's pretty accurate in his very small sample size of UFC fights, that being 2. His defense, on the other hand, not so great. 64 out of 67 for strikes landed against per minute. Over 6 strikes per minute he's been hit with at 52% 0.34 defense. 49th out of 67, so not great with the defense there. His significant striking differential, however, great. 1.43, good for 8th in the division. Let's look on the other side. Brahimaj, terrible offensive striking numbers, 3.73 landed per minute. That's not terrible. I shouldn't say that. But his accuracy is what I was looking at. 36.59%. Not great. He throws over 10 significant strikes a minute, lands 3.7. His defense, almost identical to Politnikov. Just a tad better, 6.14 landed against per minute at a much better defense. 55.69%, 34th in the division. His striking differential, however, terrible, minus 2.41. But we did see that with his terrible accuracy and only landing 3.7 strikes per minute. So yeah, minus 2.41 strikes per minute, 64th in the division. A little bit advanced numbers here. And if you have been watching like last, or I guess 2 weeks ago at this point, I have added several stats. So it might look a little bit different, but just follow along, if you will. Significant striking efficiency, 5.21 compared to a negative 7.73 for Brahimaj. Time fought at distance, 56% for Politnikov, 93.78% for Brahimaj. Guy with 8 subs, definitely doesn't want that number to be that high. 93.78 at distance. I'm sure he's going to want to look to get that number down after this fight. Politnikov's average significant strikes thrown per minute, or landed per minute, when he throws over 100 strikes, almost 10 per minute. So that is first in the division. He did win that fight as well. Significant strikes landed per minute when facing over 100 strikes, probably that same fight. Same number, 9.78. So it looks like equal significant striking numbers there. We'll have to take a look. Actually, yeah, I'm stupid. Never mind. Of course, they're going to be equal. Let's go down, and then Ramiz, same number, 3.73 from above. Knockdown data, 0 knockdowns for Sasha, 0 for Ramiz, 0 against, 1 knockdown against for Politnikov, 0.82 knockdowns against per 15 minutes. However, he did win that fight. So a 0% knockdown against loss rate. He did win the fight he got knocked down in. So that is interesting. Basic takedown data. 1 for 1 for Politnikov. He has stuff 12 of 15 takedowns for 80% defense. Fantastic. takedown attempts against per 15 for Pletnikov, 12.36. Good lord, that is the most in the division. Brahimaj has basically 0 takedown numbers. He did stuff the 1 takedown against him. 0.38% takedown shooting rate for Pletnikov, 0 for Brahimaj. I assume that's going to change in this fight, as Pletnikov's opponents have attempted to take him down 6.38%. So that is a big number there. Excuse me. Oh, clear that out. Takedown landed per 15 differential minus 1.65 for Pletnikov. And a few advanced takedown numbers here. He has landed 1.17 takedowns per 15 in his 1 win. He's never attempted 2 or more takedowns. Takedowns landed against per 15 when he's facing 2 or more takedown attempts, 2.47. So that's not a terrible number there, but it is higher. Actually, never mind. It's the exact same as that fight there. Control time, 23% offensively for Sasha, 21% control time against, so pretty much balances out there. 1.8 for Brahimaj, 4.43 against. Again, I assume a lot of these ground numbers are going to go up with the bigger sample size. You know, with every minute that Ramiz fights, he's going to increase these ground numbers. So it is kind of an anomaly, but he only has the 1 fight, and he did kind of get dominated on the feet, was not able to get offensively to the ground and do much. Advanced control time data, actually, time fought inside the distance, 43, almost 44% from Sasha, and we're going to have about 6.2 for Brahimaj. Get up time for Sasha is damn good, 15.13 seconds. Hold down time, first in the division, 252 seconds. Fantastic there. 32-second get up time for Ramiz, not too bad, and does not have any takedown attempts, or takedowns, I should say. Control time activity rate. What do guys do when they're in control? Do they ground and pound? Are they, clinch striking, trying to get you to the ground, etc.? 15.71. So that is pretty good when you look at the rank here. 11th out of 67. That is a pretty high number for control time activity rate. And a big fat 0 for Ramiz. Only has, what is that, 0.2, so what, 10 seconds, 13, 15 seconds, something like that of control time. So nothing special there. Submission data. Not going to have anything here for Ramiz yet. Sasha Pletnikov did get subbed, so he's at 0% submission defense rate, 0 for 1 defense there. Reversals, no reversals for either one. Advanced significant striking data. What are we looking for here? Well, just color-wise, green to red, I mean, you can tell this is dominated by Sasha Pletnikov, but the columns are the same. Middle column here, accuracy and defense. Next column, volume landed per minute. Column after that, volume thrown per minute. Sasha Pletnikov has some fantastic numbers here, and even his numbers that aren't fantastic are still much better than Ramiz. We don't have a big sample size for either of these guys, so that's why we're kind of all over the place with this stuff. Excuse me. And then, got a mustache hair in my mouth. Damn thing. So yeah, not too much of a sample size there, but some pretty drastic number differences, as you can see on both sides. We'll go into efficiency and differentials. All positive efficiency for Pletnikov. Head, body, leg, or not leg. Leg's the only one that's negative, but at distance and inside the distance for Pletnikov, everywhere he is more efficient than his opponents. And then Brahimaj, only the 1 fight, like we said, but is negative almost everywhere except for leg striking. So the exact opposite of Sasha. And then your head striking differentials, all this kind of stuff you can kind of look at. Negative everywhere for Brahimaj. Pretty much positive everywhere for Sasha, except for a couple of categories. This next one, I kind of like to focus, advanced significant striking percentages. Are these guys headhunters? When they throw strikes, when they do engage with punches, where are they going with those punches? Are they just headhunters, or do they have some real skill, mixing it up, getting it on the body, getting it on the legs? So I do kind of like to check that out. That's this second column here. Head strikes thrown, significant strikes thrown to the head percentage. 83.5% of all Sasha's significant strikes thrown are to the head, 14.5% to the body, and hardly any leg kicks, less than 2%. Ramiz, even more to the head, 91%, 7.3 to the body, 1.6 to the legs. So both these guys kind of go for the head more than average. Rami's obviously a smaller sample size. That's why you get these greater disparities between the areas of the body. So we also have distance striking. Ramiz has only thrown a strike at distance, never inside the distance. That's interesting. He probably doesn't have a lot of strikes to go on, though. Let's see. Well, 112. Really? He has no clinch strikes, no ground strikes. Okay, every strike has been at distance. That is interesting. So yes, while 75% of all significant strikes thrown from Sasha have been at distance, 25% have been inside. So there's graphical analysis of the stats we just talked about. If you'd like to look, here's the 100% distance strikes for Ramiz there. But hey, significant strikes landed against almost 100% as well. So nobody's really fighting in the clinch in that fight. Recent fight stats, last 5. Here we go here. It's kind of on and off between offense and defense. Strikes landed, takedowns landed, accuracy. 7.5 landed per minute. We don't really even have to go over these. You can just take a look if you want. These are the exact same numbers as were above because neither of these guys have more than 5 fights in the UFC. So all these numbers are the same. Categorical trends are completely empty. We'll go over that when we have a chance, or when we have data, I should say. Fight history, last 5. We can look at this. This is the one stat that I do track, outside of the knockouts and subs and finishes, whatever. The one stat I do track outside of the UFC, no matter what their last 5 fights were, or no matter what promotion they were under, I will track those for this strength of schedule metric here. So Sasha Plitnikov, his opponents, barely have over 56 fights, it looks like. 69% win percentage, 65 strength of schedule. All these numbers are out of 100 or 1, obviously. Just so you kind of know there. 0.58 significant or strength of victory, not great. Strength of defeat is pretty damn good at 0.86, so that is a good number. The average number, I should say, is about 0.75. That's where you want to be. Anything below that is a bit below average, in my opinion. Anything above that is a bit above average. You get into the 80s, 85s, 90s is fantastic. So you will see occasionally numbers like that. Ramiz's opponent's pro record 57-29. So a worse win percentage, a better strength of schedule by, over a point. Strength of victory is a few points better. Strength of defeat is terrible, 0.68. So how tough were the guys that you lost to? Not great in Ramiz's case. So that just measures the your opponent's last 5 and your opponent's last 5. Do all my math on the back end, and that's where I get these numbers. So we do have 2 fights, like we said, for Sasha. He did lose to Impa Kasanganay, and he did beat Luis Koske in the 3rd round TKO. Did get subbed by Kasanganay. Got taken down twice. Taken down once in the Koske fight. And everything on the Max Griffin fight for Ramiz was on the feet. No control time hardly at all to account for. And like we said, he did get knocked out. Last thing, before we move on to the next fight, is a few graphs here of different categories comparing our fighter to his opponents over the last 5. So a quick breakdown. Solid blue line is our fighter and his stats. Solid orange line is our fighter's opponents. Dashed blue line is our fighter's trend line. So where are they trending? You want to see that going up. Up is better usually. And then the dashed orange line is going to be our opponent's trend line and how they've not improved or declined, I should say, but just more volume, just increasing their overall volume for that category. Is it going up or is it going down in the past 5? And then the solid green line is our fighter's average over the past 5 for that category, and the solid yellow is our opponent's average for that category over the past 5. So I know that's a lot of information. It's pretty easy to look at. You want the blue above the orange. You want the blue above the orange and going up. You want your opponents going down usually, and you want your green above the yellow. That's what you're looking for. Right here, we got a decent graph from Sasha. Blue is above the orange. He's trending up. So is his opponent, but he is trending up at a greater rate than his opponent. And then his average, 7.58 significant strikes landed per minute, is higher than his opponent's by almost 1.5. So good looking graph from Plitnikov. Takedowns, not much to speak of. He's barely trending up, and that's just because of that Koske fight. He did land one. but Impa Kasangane landed 5.52 per 15 minutes, so his opponent's trending up there and way above his line. However, control time, he's trending up. His opponent's trending up faster at a higher slope than he is. But his average is better than his opponent's there, so that is interesting. On the other side, Ramiz, not much to look at. His average is not close to his opponents in any category, but not much to look at for takedown or control time. All right, guys. Excuse me. Let's move back up to the tippy top. We'll go on to the next fight. Let's see. As I type it in, Roosevelt Roberts against Ignacio Bahamondes. Yeah, lightweight fight. Roosevelt Roberts, 6'2", 73-inch reach. Bahamondes, 6'3", 75-inch reach. Both orthodox. Ignacio is 3.5 years younger than Roosevelt Roberts. Roosevelt 10-2 professionally, 4-2 in the UFC. One no contest. Ignacio Bahamondes, 11-4 professionally, 0-1 in his one UFC fight. I think against, I can't remember his name, McDessie, I believe. Let's see, 75% of Roberts' fights finish early, 3 by knockout win, 5 by submission win, and he has been subbed one time. 33% of Bahamondes' fights do go the distance. He has finished 8 by knockout, and he has been subbed twice. Let's see here. AWI for Roberts, 0.3. So he is on the positive side, but not a great number. And then just negative for Ignacio, -2. So it was a pretty close fight there against McDessie. But if I recall correctly, I haven't taped it yet. But I think he kind of died out there in the third round. No power index for either one. Chindex for Roberts is 0.71. The higher the Chindex, the worse it is, for the record. You want your power index high, you want your Chindex at 0, like Ignacio. That means he has not had any knockdowns, but has been knocked down. Upcoming odds here. Let's see. Opened at Roberts plus 140. He's now minus 146. So some big line movement in favor of Roberts there. Bahamondes opened at minus 160. He's now plus 119 average. Plus 140 or minus 140 fight goes to decision. I'm capping this fight 60% Roberts, 40% Bahamondes, basically. That's how I see it statistically and otherwise. Let's see. Yeah, McDessie split decision loss. It was a very close fight. Roberts round 2 sub over Brock Weaver, subbed Horcher in the first round, and had a good showing against Thomas Gifford. Kevin Kroom beat the shit out of him in the first round. Pretty good. Whooped his ass, but he was high at the time, so it got overturned. He did get subbed by Jim Miller in the first round, and he lost a round 3. He lost a decision against a fighter that we'll be talking about later, Vince P. Shell. Fight finishing data: half of Roberts' wins in the UFC by finish, and half of his wins by decision, half of his losses by finish, half of his losses by decision. And then the one loss for Ignacio was a decision. 2 subs, like we said, for Roberts, and 2 decisions for his wins, and he did get subbed one time. Graphical representation of that there. Let's see. Roberts does have a round 1 and a round 2 finish win, and he did get finished in the first round, as we said, to, I believe, Jim Miller. Ass whooping index in a win. Pretty okay number there from Roberts, 23.22. You would want that to be higher. Minus 50 when he does get finished. And a pretty even, but not positive, negative 2.36 for his ass whoop index per decision. And just a bit better here for Bahamondes, like we said, negative 2.06 ass whoop index. Basic striking data: throws 6 per minute, lands 2.79 for a 45, almost 46% accuracy. Roberts gets hit 2.3 strikes landed against per minute for 13th in the division, so not too bad at a 54% defense, so right down the middle. His striking per minute differential is about half a significant strike per minute. Let's see. Bahamondes in his one fight landed 7.5 strikes a minute at 36% accuracy. He did get hit with even more, though, 8.27. That is worse worst in the division. 46.5% striking defense in that one, and he does have a negative differential, as we discovered here, of a 0.8. Advanced striking data, positive for Roberts, 0.36%. Negative big time for Bahamondes, negative 17.5% striking efficiency against Makdessi. He fought 90% of that fight at distance, while Roberts has fought only 40% of his fight time at distance. Let's see, not much to look at there. That'll be more fun when we have a bigger sample size. Knockdown data, Roberts has been knocked down. He did not lose that fight, though. Again, second fighter in a row. Bahamondes did not get knocked down either. Or not either, but did not get knocked down. Takedown data, Ignacio 0 for 4, 0%. Roosevelt Roberts 5 of 11 for 45%. Averages 1.23 takedowns per 15 minutes. He has stuffed 9 of 16, so 56% defense there. Takedown shooting rate, 2.95%. His opponent takedown shooting rate is almost, almost double, I guess, 5.16%. No takedown data offensively or defensively for Ignacio. Yeah. Striker, I guess, in his first fight there. I do remember that fight, but I'm going to go back and tape it, and I haven't seen any of his regional stuff. But if I remember correctly, long, lanky, has decent striking, but did gas out. So we'll have to take a look at that. Advanced takedown data, probably not going to be much to look at for Ignacio. Nothing at all, actually. 1 takedown per 15 in Roberts wins, and just about a takedown everywhere else. Let's see. The 3 fights where he did attempt 2 or more takedowns, he's right under 2 takedowns landed per 15. When he's facing more than 2 takedowns, he has 3 takedowns landed against him. So a bit more than his average 1.72 takedowns landed against by a whole takedown, but not too much. We're probably not going to expect too many takedowns from Bahamondes there. I mean, he did attempt 4 against Makdessi, but how much energy did he have? Was he just doing that to try to get bailed out of getting punched in the face over and over in that 3rd round? So like I said, I'll have to go back and look at that one. Basic control time, 28% for Roberts, not bad. 32% against, not good. 8% for Bahamondes, 4 under 1.5% against, so pretty fantastic there. But like we said, 90% of the time was at distance, so not much to work with there. Yeah, under 10% fought inside the distance. 60% time fought inside the distance for Roberts. Advanced control time data, 72 seconds get up time, 94 seconds hold down time. Let's see, that is pretty similar. Well, not actually. Control time percent when Roosevelt averages 2 takedowns, or when he is attempting 2 or more takedowns, which has been 3 fights, 38%. So that jumps up 10, but his control time against also jumps up 10% when he's facing 2 or more takedown attempts. Submission data, 4 attempts for Robert, successful on 2 of them, as we discussed. Almost 1 sub attempt per 15 minutes. That is pretty high. He has had 3 submissions against him, attempts, I should say, and he stopped 2 out of the 3. No numbers for Ignacio. Let's see, reversals, 1 against for Roberts. Let's see here. Accuracy and defense, as you can see, much better for Roberts, pretty much everywhere. His volume, kind of the opposite though. Volume is pretty low. Offensive volume, pretty low, 40s and 50s for a lot of these ranks, so pretty low in the division. On the other hand, while the accuracy and defense is very low for Bahamondes, his offensive numbers very high, as we could see from the volume, but his defensive numbers are even worse because he was getting outstruck pretty much everywhere in that fight. And so, you know, you're going to have a high offensive number because of that, and a very high, and a very poor defensive number because of that as well. So can't really trust that too much, although there were a ton of strikes thrown in that fight. Can't really trust it because of the small sample size here. Striking efficiency and differentials. Positive efficiency for Roberts all across the board. Really good numbers. You know, head striking plus 7.8, body plus 6, leg striking plus 12, At distance, +4, and inside, +4.5. So very good. A few big negative numbers for Bahamondes there. -15.5 to the head, +15 to the body, -7. We're getting a bunch of ups and downs here in his efficiency. Differentials for let's see, Roosevelt Roberts, 1 strike per minute on average, more than his opponents. To the head, I should say. Distance strikes, 0.67. Let's see, we are pretty low. Let's see, -2.8 or -0.28, I should say, to the body. I know this is super boring and I kind of just zoned out on myself there for a second. Oof. Let's just skip. That'll be more fun when they're bigger numbers. Advanced significant striking percentages, both of them about 85% of their strikes to the head. 8 to 9% to the body and 6% to the legs. Pretty even numbers there. I like looking at the graphs better for that almost, I do believe. So have a look. Let's see. Interesting how, Roosevelt Roberts, significant strikes landed against, 46% to the head only. Lots of body strikes. So he does take quite a few body strikes. We're at 20% body strikes landed for Ignacio in that first fight against Makdessi. Last 5 fights, we can take a look at Roberts. Let's see, -5.16. Let's go back and take a look. Sorry for the scrolling. What was his ass whoop index? 0.3 for a career. So in his last 5, he has dropped all the way down to a -5.16. He's not whooping anybody's ass. His chin index is worse, almost 1. Let's see. Significant striking differential is pretty even over the last 5. He has a negative takedown differential, a negative 20% control time differential, negative reverse differential, and a bunch of, or 1 positive number for Ignacio. I guess we can't even look at that because he only has the 1 fight. Categorical trends. So what this does is take in the category what a fighter has done over the past 5 compared to his career. So it's not like improving or getting worse, blah, 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 but, it's kind of where the fighter is trending. So Roosevelt Roberts trending down in almost every category except takedown defense. He is almost 1% better in takedown defense in his last 5 compared to his career. Most of these numbers are pretty small. Not even a half a strike, not even, 0.2 of of 0.2, a fifth of a strike, half a strike here, barely. So pretty small numbers from Roberts. So when you do see him going down, you don't want to see him going down too far. Fight history. Let's see. Strength of schedule, 70%. Opponent win percent for Roosevelt. Just about the same for Bahamondes. Pretty close numbers here. Pretty close. Pretty even numbers. Roberts is 2-2 in his last. Well, he should be 2-3 in his last 5, but it was overturned. So I guess technically he is, 2-2 with 1 no contest. But he did lose to Vince Pichel and he did lose to Jim Miller. Couple of graphs there we can take a look at. Nothing much for Bahamondes and some pretty bad graphs for Roberts too. Trending down in the ground game. His opponents are whooping his ass in the ground game. Even the striking, Kevin Crew put on a clinic. That was a really quick fight. Took him down, or not took him down, but knocked him down in the first round and finished it off there. So those are the stats for that. And I should say I'm not really picking fights in this show. I'm just trying to present to you every single stat I can, giving you all the information you could possibly want. Pair that with your fight tape, make the best bet possible. Let's keep this moving. I only wanted this to be about an hour and we're already halfway there. So we still have 4 fights to go. So I might move a little quicker here. Fabio Charant against William Knight. Light heavyweight bout. Fabio Charant, 6'1". Apparently I don't have a reach for him. I should probably put that in. William Knight, 5'10", 73-inch reach. Southpaw versus Orthodox here. Fabio Charant's going to be about 6.5 years younger than William Knight, who is 9-2 professionally, 1-1 in the UFC. Fabio Charant, 7-2, 0-1 in the UFC. Most of Charant's wins have come by sub. 5 wins by sub, no wins by KO, TKO. No subs at all for Knight or his opponents. 8 wins by KO. But he does have a negative AWI in the UFC. Negative 7.91 in his 2 fights. Fabio Charant got pieced up, I believe, by Menefield. Yeah, round 1 submission loss. Negative 123.77. So he got his ass whooped. 0 power index and chin index. Quick odds. Let's see. Fabio Charant opened at plus 275. He's now almost 100 points better at plus 182. William Knight opened at minus 325, minus 228 currently. Minus 205, fight doesn't go. I have this 81% William Knight, 82% Knight, and 18% Charant. Fight finishing data. William Knight does not have a finish in the UFC, just decision win and a decision loss. Fabio Charant has been submitted, like we said, in the first round. Ass whooping data, we already know what that is. Basic striking. Fabio Charant, 1 strike. So this will be pretty simple to look at. William Knight has only landed 1.83 significant strikes per minute. He's only thrown 2.77 per minute. That is pretty interesting, but pretty accurate. 66.27%. That's third in the division. Light heavyweight. Striking defense, only 2.5 strikes thrown against per minute. Only landed 1.5 against at a 40.79% defense. Those volume numbers against are the best in the division. Striking differentials 0.33 per minute for William Knight, good for 19 out of 36. And then Fabio Charant is pretty much last at a minus 2.54 significant strikes landed per minute. Ouch. Negative 100% striking efficiency. That is, I don't know. How do you say inefficient? 7% for William Knight. Time fought at distance, only 19% for Knight, and only 5.37 for Fabio Charant. Let's go down. No knockdown data, takedown data, nothing at all for Charant offensively. 0% takedown defense. He did get taken down 1 of 1. William Knight has landed 4 of 8 for 50%. That's 2 takedowns landed per 15 minutes on average. He has stuffed only 4 of 13 for a terrible 30.77% takedown defense. And oddly enough, his takedown shooting rate is 9.64%. His opponent takedown shooting rate is 17.11%. And he does have a negative takedown landed per 15 differential, but nowhere close to the negative number that Fabio Charant has. No finish wins there. Takedowns landed per 15 in wins. William Knight, 4 on average, so double of what he gets usually. Let's see. Looks like when he's facing takedowns, he lands a ton, 4.5. So apparently that happened in just one of his fights. Again, small sample size. That's why you see numbers kind of ballooned up like that. Basic control time data, ouch, 0 for Charant, and he was controlled 94% of his minute and something in the cage octagon. Excuse me, Uncle Dana. Control time percent 23 for William Knight and 58. Oof, control time percentage against. That's a huge negative 35% for William Knight there. They're both fighting for who wants to be the last in the division. 81% time fought inside the distance, 94.5 for Charant. Let's see, get up time for Charant. Obviously, he's still trying to get up. William Knight, 80.77, so not great there. 51-second hold down time. Control time against for Knight when facing 2 or more takedown attempts, 58. Oof. No bueno. Sub, nothing at all for Charant offensively. He did get subbed in his one fight. 0% sub success rate for William Knight. No one's thrown one up against him. He does have 1 reversal. Let's see. And look at this. Fabio Charant with his 1 strike. Zeros all up and down the board, so we're not even really going to compare. But we can look at some accuracy, which is decent to the head for William Knight, then falls off to the body and the legs. But at distance, 54%, that's good for 5th. So some decent numbers there. Some of his defensive numbers are pretty good too. Actually, a lot of them. Head strikes landed against per minute. A lot of his defensive volume, numbers are pretty good, as we saw above. Efficiency, negative hundreds across the board. Well done, Fabio. Some pretty big negatives here for Knight as well, but does have a positive, head striking and distance striking efficiency. Let's see, not too much there for differentials, and absolutely terrible for Charant. All right, 64% head strikes thrown out of all strikes for William Knight. 27% leg strikes. How many does he have? 17-23. All right. So he did attack the legs pretty well in his first two fights. 9% to the body. Only 60% of his strikes thrown were at distance. Not much to look at for the graphs of Fabio Cherant. A little bit here for William Knight. Go ahead and pause or whatever. Last five, we don't have to go over. Stats are the exact same because we have less than 5 fights, but the control time differential for both guys is really bad. Ass whooping index is over 130 when you combine them both. Negative. That's terrible. Strength of schedule, pretty mediocre for Fabio Cherant all across the board. Strength of defeat's okay. A little bit better, but not barely by much at all for William Knight. Did fight Dawn Jung, Alexa Kamer. Nothing's really standing out to me there. 44% control time in the Kamer fight. Decent AWI, 7.73, but got his ass whooped the very next fight. And then, yeah, Cherant against Menafield. Very quick fight. Very quick sub. So some terrible graphs for Cherant. A decent striking graph from William Knight. He's trending up, but so is his opponent. Look at that. Very steep. But he is still averaging better. However, takedowns landed, control time percentage, no bueno. So that's all for that one. Don't have a lot of stats for Cherant, so that one did go pretty quickly. But that works in our favor. Let's go on to the next fight. Bea Malecki against Josiane Nunez. This will also be a very quick breakdown. As you know, all of my stats are just from the UFC. I don't go outside the UFC to any other promotion to get stats. I don't even like to use Dana White Contender Series generally unless I have no other stats to go on. Then I will begrudgingly add the Dana White Contender Series stats in here. But Josiane Nunez has no fights to speak of in the UFC, so I have no stats for her. So we'll just kind of briefly go over Bea Malecki. 5'9", 74-inch reach. This is a women's bantamweight fight against Nunez, who is 5'2", 7 inches shorter, and a 7-inch reach disadvantage. Orthodox versus Southpaw. 2 years age difference, with Bea being older. Professional record for Nunez, 7-1, so more experience than Bea Malecki. UFC record, there is none. 2-0 for Malecki. Let's see here. She has 2 wins by sub in her career, 1 by KO, and 1 fight went the distance. Josiane has, finished 6 of her fights by KO, TKO. No subs to speak of, and 1 by decision. Bea Malecki, 5.96 AWI, so that's good for 6 in the division. No power index, no chindex, so we'd like to see the chindex at 0. Let's see. This fight opened -130. It's currently -153 for Malecki. Let's see. -140 fight goes to decision. This line is kind of interesting to me. +170 fighter for Bea Malecki to win by decision. So something to look at there. Nunez opened +110. She's currently +125. So not a ton of line movement, but coming in on Malecki just a little bit. I'm capping this fight at just over 70% for Malecki. Just under 30% for Nunez, just because I don't have any stats for her. I have done a little tape on her. Hasn't looked great. You know, I don't have a ton to look at. I'm not, obviously, I'm not making picks, but I'm not impressed by Malecki, her stats really either. Or the way she kind of fights. She kind of just plods around and will just jab you to death. But with that 7-inch reach, that's going to come in very handy for her in this fight. So we'll just kind of have to see what happens. She did get that decision win over Veronica. And she did finish due to Santana as well. I did just watch that fight. She's kind of getting pieced up by Santana, just walking around, plodding around. But Santana fucked up on the ground big time, and Malecki ended up reversing that and finishing her ground and pound, or not ground and pound, she choked her out once she was able to reverse that position. Anyways, fight finishing data, half the wins for Malecki came by finish, and the other half were decision, no losses, and yeah, no fights for Nunez. Malecki does have the round 2 finish against Duda, like we talked about. Striking data, very good offensive striking numbers for Malecki. throws almost 15, I should say, almost 14.5 significant strikes per minute, lands just under 7 at a 47% accuracy. She does get hit quite a bit. In fact, the most out of the division. Opponents throw 16.5 significant strikes against to her, and they land just over 6. So those are huge numbers there. But she does have a good defense, 63%. So it's good that defense is so high. Be getting hit with more towards 8 or 9 strikes per minute. Does have a positive significant striking differential. You know, oops, I need to change those color codes there. 10% striking efficiency, very good. Time fought at distance, 66%. Dun dun dun. Significant strikes landed per minute when throwing over 100 significant strikes. She lands 8.67. That is good for second in the division, and she did win that one fight. No knockdown data to speak of. No takedown data. She does have a decent defense. She stuffed 11 of 14 takedowns, probably because of her size. It's very difficult to take her down. She has a decent sprawl. 79% takedown defense. Very, very good. No takedown, advanced takedown numbers to look at. Control time data, 20.7% offensively, just under 13% defensively. She does have that positive control time percentage or differential. 33% of the time inside the distance. I gotta change all kinds of stuff over here. Let's see. Has a decent get up time, under 12 seconds. That's good for second in the division. Decent control time activity rate. See, I keep saying let's see, but that's because I'm kind of trying to fly through this, and there aren't a ton of stats to look at here. 2 sub attempts in the UFC for Malecki. She has been successful on one of those. No subs against. No reversals. All right, fantastic offensive numbers here. As far as volume, fantastic accuracy and defensive numbers here as well. Over, above average in every single one except the leg striking accuracy, but above average in every category. Yeah, looking pretty good there as far as striking goes. Some very good efficiency, 7% to the head, 30% body striking efficiency, just under, just barely negative leg striking efficiency. Distance striking, 6.8. Inside distance striking efficiency, 122.28% over her opponents. Fantastic. She loves to work that clinch and on that ground. Body striking differential per minute, over 1 strike per minute to the body. That's a huge differential right there. Half a strike per minute ground strike. Very nice. 80% of the strikes she throws are to the body, 17 or to the head, 17% to the body. Not too big on the legs there. 89% of the strikes she throws are from distance. Last 5 fights, same stats from above. Look at this. Oh my goodness. Look at these terrible. Look at this. Bea Malecki, last 5 opponents professional record. Her last 5 opponents combined, added up, cumulative, 9 and 8, 17 fights. And they're only, that's 53%, a 54 strength of schedule, a 52 strength of victory. Like, ugh, no defeats. Josiane Nunez, oh my God, 10 and 14. Losing record, 41% win percentage, 44 strength of schedule, abysmal. 42 strength of victory, abysmal. Just terrible in her last 5. Oh, she's 7 and 1. Have you seen her tape? Do I have to watch it? For fuck's sake. 41%. Get out of here. Who are you even fighting? At least Bea Malecki, with 7 fights less total for her opponents. At least it's above 50%, for God's sake. Graphs, not much to look at here. Good control time. Very good control time graph. Not a good takedown graph. And striking, high numbers offensively, but way too high defensively. And your opponent is trending right up there with you. Not great. So hopefully you can separate yourself against Nunez here. Let's keep it moving. We're at 50 minutes. 2 fights left. Brian Kelleher against Brian Boom Kelleher, against Domingo, son of Fire Pilarte. Some great nicknames here. This fight is going to be at flyweight. 5'6" for Kelleher, 6 feet tall for Pilarte, 73-inch reach compared to a 66-inch reach. I find this incredible that Pilarte is the bigger guy by 6 inches, and he fought at the smaller weight class. I find that incredible. He is 3 years younger as well compared to Kelleher. Professionally, Kelleher is 22-12, 6-5 in the UFC, 8-2 for Pilarte professionally, 0-1 in his 0-1. It should be 0-2, I believe. Yeah, it should be 0-2. But the Journey Newsom fight, he got knocked the fuck out by Journey Newsom. But Journey was high when he did it, so it doesn't count because he was high. Guess what? It should count because I was high during it, and I fucking remember that it happened. So it should count. Fights go the distance, pro career, and by high, I mean, you like to dabble a little bit on fight night. That's what I'm talking about. Don't get it twisted. 26% of Kelleher's fights go the distance. 8 wins by knockout. He was knocked out or finished knockout TKO once. 10 finishes by sub. 6 losses by sub, though. So kind of goes both ways for him on that one. Domingo Pilarte, 60% of his fights do not go the distance. He has finished 2 of them by knockout TKO, 4 of them by sub. Both gentlemen have a negative ass whoop index, -2 and -6, damn near. Kelleher has a 0.56 power index and a 0.4 chindex, whereas Pilarte has never knocked anyone down and 3.5 chindex. That's pretty high, very high. Towards the end of the division there, Kelleher opened at -140. He's currently -173. Pilarte opened +120. +143 currently. I cap this pretty close to that, at least for Pilarte. 60% Kelleher, 40% Pilarte. Kelleher's best performances: sub of Ray Rodriguez first round, sub of Ode Osborne first round, sub of Yuri Alcantara first round. Domingo Pilarte's best, his only 2 fights, he split decision loss to Felipe Colares, and then the Journey Newsom fight where he got smashed into hell, but the devil's lettuce caught up with Journey Newsom there, and that was overturned. Let's see fight finishing data. Brian Kelleher in the UFC finishes 83% of his wins and gets finished 60% of his losses. So nothing to speak of for Pilarte there, just the 1 decision loss. Should be a KO loss as well, but we discussed that. Bop, 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 bop. Finishing data. Some good numbers here. Brian Kelleher, 3 round 1 finish wins. He has 1 round 2 finish win and 1 round 3 finish win. He's also been finished twice in the first round and once in the third. So lots of finishes there on Brian Boom Kelleher's record. When he does finish win, a decent AWI there of 24.31. When he loses, -26.89. And when he gets taken to a decision, does not go in his favor. At least as far as ass whoop index, -8.5 there, so not a great number. Basic striking data: throws just under 10 strikes a minute, lands just under 4 for an under 40% accuracy, not great. He gets hit with 5.5 strikes per minute at a 53% defense for a negative striking differential of 1.55, 56th out of 69 featherweights. Whereas Pilarte, in his 2 fights, his very small sample size in the UFC, 1.6 significant strikes thrown per minute, lands 0.77 per minute at a 48% accuracy. So that is some of the lowest in the division. But his defense is pretty good as well. Well, I guess his volume, 1.86 significant strikes landed against per minute, but only at a 44% defense. He also has a negative striking differential at a -1.09. So both these guys a pretty bad striking differential, pretty bad striking efficiency as well. -7 for Kelleher and -8 for Pilarte. 66% of the fight time for Kelleher is fought at distance, while only 17.57% has been fought at distance for Pilarte. Let's see. When Kelleher throws more than 100 significant strikes in a fight, he lands 4.88 significant strikes per minute. So that is almost a full strike more than his average. And he's won 50% of those fights. Knockdown data: 2 knockdowns for Kelleher, 2 knockdowns against. 100% of the time he's knocked someone down, he's won. 100% of the time he's been knocked down, he has lost. No knockdowns for Pilarte, has been knocked down. But seems to be a trend on this card. Did not lose the fight in which he got knocked down. Takedown data, 6 of 24 for 25% accuracy for Kelleher. Not great. Has stuffed 16 out of 27 takedowns for 60%. Not great either. Negative takedown differential per 15. Let's see. 2 for 5 for Pilarte, 40% accurate. Has stuffed 6 of 8, so over 70%. Defense there, pretty good, but a pretty small sample size. Takedown shooting rate for Pilarte, 20%. Very, very high compared to 2.69 for Kelleher. Takedown efficiency, negative 16% for Kelleher, positive 15% for Pilarte. Advanced takedown data. Oh, the numbers don't change in finish wins compared to regular wins, compared to average takedowns per 15, much for Kelleher. Let's see. Not too much different there for either guy. So we'll just kind of skip that. Basic control time data. Just under 16% for Kelleher. Just under 18% defensive for Kelleher. So not great. Does get out controlled. Same with Pilarte, but to a much greater extent. 40% control time, but 43% control time against. So that is towards the very bottom of the division. Both of them have a negative control time differential. Time fought inside the distance, 34% for Kelleher, 82% for Pilarte. Against, doesn't really, well, I guess he doesn't have a problem being there. I still need to tape this one, at least on the Pilarte side. Get up time for Kelleher, 36 seconds. Average hold down time, same, just under 36 seconds. 50 seconds get up time for Pilarte and 74-second hold down time for Pilarte as well. Control time activity rate, not great for either guy, but much more for Kelleher. 7.1 compared to a 2.43 for Pilarte. And then where are these control times? Don't change much whether they're facing a ton of takedowns or not. Submission data, 4 attempts for Kelleher, has completed 3 of them. And he's defended 60% of the 5 subs thrown against him. Pilarte was not successful on the only sub he's thrown up. Couple reversals here. So 9% of the time, Kelleher lands 9% of the time, Kelleher's opponents land a takedown on him. He reverses it. And same thing for Pilarte, except that 9 becomes 50%. So let's look at I don't know why these are the same. Sometimes this code is a little wonky. Let's look at our striking and defensive numbers here. Run of the mill, average to below average for Kelleher, accuracy and defense. Not much of a sample size for Pilarte, but what we do have is pretty low. And nothing really jumps out at me as far as the volume numbers either. I'll tell you what, Kelleher's defense, volume-wise, not good. Towards the bottom in every single category. Same thing with Pilarte. So not great striking numbers. I know it's fun to watch Kelleher strike for the most part, but not great numbers as far as stats go. Efficiency and differentials, negative pretty much everywhere. Leg striking is break even. Inside the distance striking efficiency for Kelleher is just under 13%. Some big negative numbers for Pilarte here. Head striking differential, -1 per minute for Pilarte. Negative 0.77 ground strike differential per minute. And then Kelleher, same thing, a negative over 1 head strike differential. Distance strike, he gets hit with over 1 strike, 1.32 strikes per minute at distance, compared to what he's dishing out. Bad body striking differential, just pretty low all across the board, surprisingly. Advanced significant striking percentages, 76% to the body, or to the head rather, 13% to the body, 10% to the legs. Pretty good disbursement. Even better for Pilarte, but again, a very small sample size. Like for instance, 58% of his strikes were in the clinch. That is a very small sample size there. Last 5 fights, we can look at Kelleher. Ass whooping index is a bit better, I believe. Or I just say that. Go check. Nope, it's actually worse. 2.38, so it's down about 1/3 of a point. Power index 0.88, Chindex 0, so very good there. Accuracy, significant strike accuracy 31%. Takedown accuracy 22%. Takedown defense in his last 5. Oof. 36%. Not good stuff. I mean, he's getting out controlled 10% to 25%. Or sorry, that's wrong. 8%, even worse. 8% to 25%. He's got a negative striking differential, minus 2.21 strikes per minute, minus 2.5 takedowns landed per minute, per 15 minutes rather, minus 18% control time differential. Terrible. Terrible. Then we got Domingo Pilarte's big ass chin index over here, 3.45. Categorical trends. Brian Kelleher trending down everywhere in a couple of big numbers. His takedown defense is down 23.5% in his last 5 compared to his career. His significant striking accuracy is down 9%. His significant striking defense is down. Strikes landed per minute is down. Just pretty much down almost everywhere across the board. Strength of schedule is okay. 77%, 75 for an overall strength of schedule, almost 76. That's decent. Strength of victories over 70. Strength of defeat is 84. And again, 50s for Pilarte. That's 50% opponent win percentage. Awful for the UFC. That is fucking awful for the UFC. 53 strength of schedule, 59 strength of victory, and 83 strength of defeat. So a little bit better number there. It would be even worse if that Journey Newsom loss was counted as a loss. His strength of defeat would be much lower. Kelleher is 3-2 in his last 5, beating the likes of Ode Osborne, Hunter Azure, Ray Rodriguez. Took a loss to Ricky Simone, where he got his ass beat. That's a pretty big AWI for a decision. And he got whooped up by Cody Stamen as well. And then we have our graphs. Not great at all for Kelleher. Striking graph, way low. He's getting outstruck, like we said, by over 2 strikes a minute in his last fight. Takedowns are going down while his opponents are going way up. Same with control time. This is the opposite of what you want to see. Your fighter's going way down and your opponent's going way up. But you look over here at Pilarte, terrible graphs all across the board, except for control time. He did have a bunch of control time against Felipe Colares. So he is kind of trying to keep up, but his opponent's still, that's 43% to 39.5%. We're not really close there. So that is the stats. That is the stats for Brian Kelleher, Domingo Pilarte. Let's go to the last fight here. We're just at an hour. Last fight of the prelims. Austin Lingo against Luis Saldana. I'll have to look and see where he's from. I do not remember if that's an Enye, but I don't have an Enye, so we're going Saldana. Featherweight fight. Let's see. 5'10" for Lingo, 70-inch reach. 5'11" for Saldana, 73-inch reach. And he is 3.5 years older than Austin Lingo. Lingo 8-1 professionally, 1-1 in the UFC. Saldana over 20 professional fights, 15-6 professionally, 1-0 in the UFC. Let's see. 55% of Lingo's fights do not go the distance. He has ended 3 of them by KO, TKO, and 2 of them by sub. He has never been finished. Saldana, 19% of his fights go the distance. 9 wins by knockout, 1 loss by knockout, and 5 wins by sub, 2 sub losses. Again, a common theme for some reason with these prelims. Negative AWIs. Minus 3.4 for Austin Lingo. That's the ass whoop index. Not a good number. 55 out of 69. And then Luis Saldana, negative 9.13 AWI. 63 out of 69. 0.93 power index for Lingo. Not bad. 0 for Saldana. 0 chindex for both guys. What you want to see. This line has not moved at all. Opened at plus 110 for Lingo. He's a plus 109 right now. Saldana opened at minus 130. He is a minus 134. Minus 110 fight doesn't go to decision. Minus 120 fight does go. So the bookies really have no idea how this one is going to work. I'm capping this Austin Lingo barely. 54%, 55% to a 45% by Saldana. I don't have a big sample size for them, though, as far as stats go. So, it's pretty much a pick 'em. Let's see. Jacob Kilburn, Yusuf Zalal. Finish rate. No finishes in the UFC for either of these guys. Couple of decision wins and 1 decision loss for Lingo. No finishes, as we just said. AWI is going to be the same, just their decision AWI. Basic striking data. 3.57 significant strikes landed per minute for Lingo at a 44% accuracy. Significant strikes landed against per minute, 3.17 at a 63% significant striking defense. That does leave him with a 0.40 significant strikes differential. So not great, not terrible, just about average in the featherweight division. Let's take a look across the board at Luis Saldana's numbers here for striking. Significant strikes landed per minute, 2.4, not great. 40.91% accuracy, also not great. His defense, he doesn't get hit too much, 2.2 strikes landed against per minute, good for 9th in the division, but his defense is not great at 52%. So it's just not a ton of volume coming in at him. And his significant striking differential, while positive, is just barely that at 0.20 significant strikes landed per minute. Advanced striking data, 7% striking efficiency for Lingo, negative 7% significant striking efficiency for Saldana. Time fought at distance, 56.67% for Lingo, 42.67% for Saldana. Let's see, no fights over 100 strikes. That is, I guess, worth mentioning. Probably not, but when Lingo does throw over 100 significant strikes, he lands 6.33 per minute compared to 3.57 for his career. But small sample size. Knockdown data, 1 knockdown for Lingo. He did win that fight. And no knockdowns for Saldana for or against. Takedown data, 2 for 3 for Lingo, 66.67%. That is good for 1 takedown landed per 15. And he has stuffed a surprising number of takedowns, 23 of 30 for an over 76% takedown defense. Fantastic. Takedown attempt against per 15 is 15 for Lingo, and only 3.5 landed. So fantastic. Saldana has not even thrown a takedown, has stuffed only 3 of 7 for a 43% takedown defense. No good there. Both have a negative takedown landed per 15 differential, negative 2.5 for Lingo compared to a negative 4 for Saldana, but Lingo has a takedown efficiency of 43% over his opponent. So that just means all these efficiency numbers are compared to your opponent. You have a positive, 43% efficiency. You are 43% more efficient at takedowns than your opponent is. Advanced takedown data per 15, not much to look at here for Austin Lingo, and absolutely nothing to look at here for Saldana. I guess it is worth noting in both of his fights, Lingo has faced 2 or more takedown attempts, and he has in those fights 3.5 takedowns landed against per 15. Control time data, 17.39 offensive control time for Lingo compared to 26% defensive control time. Their opponent's offensive control time. So he does get out controlled. Not a good look. 43% time fought inside the distance. Across the way here for Saldana, 15% control time. So, a little bit, basically average, a little below, but 42% control time against. So that is towards the bottom of the division. 57% of his fight time has come inside the distance. Lingo, 15.57 seconds get up time. Hold down time, 104. So great numbers there. 54 seconds get up time for Saldana. Not fantastic. Control time activity rate, however, pretty low. Second lowest in the division for Lingo, 2.49. Not a great number here for Saldana, but significantly better than Lingo's at 4.35. Same stats as above. Let's see. No submission attempts for Lingo. 3 subs attempted against for him, but he has defended 100% of those. Not really any sub stats for Saldana. He did defend 2 of 2 and got his 1 attempt stuffed. No reversal data for Lingo. 1 for, 1 against for Saldana. And what do we have for advanced significant striking data? What's jumping out at me? Lingo's kind of all over the place. All over the place. Up, down, average. I don't know what to make of it. He's got some pretty bad offensive numbers here. Body strikes landed per minute, leg strikes landed per minute towards the bottom of the division. Distance strikes landed against per minute, pretty low. Across the way, we have pretty much everywhere that Lingo is poor, Saldana makes up for it. So, but the same kind of deal. He's low, lots of places. Head striking accuracy, head strikes landed per minute, some of the volume numbers, but his defensive numbers are pretty good. Compared to Lingo, I should say. I'm not saying they're pretty good, but compared to Lingo. Advanced significant striking efficiency and differentials. Decent for Lingo. 10% head strikes efficiency, 18% body strike, negative 20% leg strike efficiency. Oof. 8% distance strikes, negative 56 inside the distance striking efficiency. Not great, but even worse for Saldana. Minus 11, minus 1. Positive 15 for leg strikes, but negative 7 distance striking and negative 66% inside the distance strikes. Terrible. A lot of negatives here, or a couple negatives for, differential per minute. Lingo, a positive 0.77 head strike differential per minute, and a half a distance strike at distance differential. Half a distance strike at distance, yeah. That's pretty repetitive. Advanced significant striking percentages, 87.5% of the strikes Lingo throws are to the head, so that's a bit much. 9% to the body, 3% to the legs, pretty low numbers there. And the 7th highest head strikes thrown number that we have in this featherweight division. Better numbers from Saldana, 76% to the head, 11.3 to the body, 12.5 to the legs, 90% at distance. Those are some good distance numbers right there. Here's our graph. As we said, distance strikes for Lingo, head strikes for Lingo, lots and lots. Only 52% of the significant strikes landed have been to the head. And then he splits the strikes landed between the legs and the body pretty evenly. Last 5 does not matter again. We can skip all that. 5 fight history. Strength of schedule, not great for Lingo. 61, 61, 60, and 60. Pretty bad. Pretty bad strength of schedule there. But he's better everywhere than Luis Saldana. 56, 58, 56. Okay, so I'm rounding down. Let's round up. 57, 59, and 57. We're not even touching 60 here. Pretty bad. Let's see. He did win, right? Yeah, he did beat Jordan Griffin, but my ass whoop index says that he did not. Strikes were pretty even. He had 4 takedowns landed against him. He got out-controlled 42% to 15%. I mean, come on. I got to watch that fight, but what are we doing here? -9 ass whoop index and a win? Oof. And then 1-1 in the UFC for Austin Lingo, with a loss to Zalal and a decent win over Kilburn. Couple graphs and we'll get on out of here, guys. Austin Lingo has a decent graph here. His averages are a little too close for my comfort, but still above his opponent, and he is trending up at a good rate there. Takedowns, not a good graph. Control time, decent control time percent at 17. Decent control time trend line, but that Youssef Zalal fight, he really needs to have some better numbers here to even that out. That is a big number. Luis Saldana in his one fight, outstriking his opponent by 0.2 strikes per minute. No takedowns to speak of, and not much control time here because Jordan Griffin controlled him for 42% of the fight. All right, guys, we did it. We did it. We finished up. So though that is all of the numbers that I could possibly think of for UFC Vegas 34 Cannonier versus Gastelum, just the prelims. Keep an eye out for the main card that's coming out here. It's probably out by the time you're watching this. Probably going to record it right after this here. Guys, make sure you do your fight tape. These wonderful statistics are just supposed to be a complement to your fight study. So put them both together. That way, to quote Uncle Wheezy, you'll shave those bookies' asses. Sorry, Uncle Wheezy. I just really wanted to say shave the bookies' asses just once. I promise I won't say it again. That said, do your fight study. You have all this knowledge now. Put it together, and let's win some money this weekend, guys. I know the PFL was last week. We got some more this week coming up. UFC was off last week, but the week before, a lot of people kind of lost some money there. I know a couple people did really well. I think I only won like a half a unit or something like that. But the point of me saying that is we've had 2 weeks to do our fight tape. We've had 2 weeks to ingest our statistical knowledge. So that's just 2 more weeks that we can two more weeks worth of study, so we can take the money from the bookies, put it in our bank accounts. All right, guys. Thanks for sticking with me for this whole card, or the whole prelim card. We'll have the other 5 fights coming to you by the time this is over. So please join me for that one. I would much appreciate that. And we will see you next time. Peace out.